topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the host and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
And welcome to Triversity Talk. I'm your hostess with the mostest tonight. Well, every Wednesday night, actually, Wendy. And I'd like to just welcome everybody and thank you all for tuning in. Triversity's got a lot going on. For those of you who don't know about us, we are located in Milford, Pennsylvania. We actually have a brick and mortar center with an incredible library of banned books, and we offer programs, support groups, and we are out there. Please, if you're in the Milford area, we service New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania. Please, stop on in, say hi. We're really, really great people. What we've got going on right now, we are working on an arts and writing program called I Am What I Am. And we have people that have signed up for it. We are still looking for teens. So if you're listening, we meet once a week for 6 weeks on Saturday. And we just would absolutely love to have you. It's a fun program. And of course, it's a program where you can share everything that you're about. So June, of course, is Pride Month. I'm working on an event, an LGBTQ organized event to go to Luna Park. Luna Park is in New Jersey. It's not the one in Coney Island, but it is such an incredible place. It's a castle-like creative environment run by artist, sculptor, the amazing Ricky Boscarino. And that is going to take place on Sunday, June 14th. The event is going to be a free event. We're asking people just to make a suggested donation. So make sure you get in touch with Triversity. Let us know that you would like to be a part of it. Okay. So in my own personal life, I just finished this weekend the Imperial Court of New York Night of 1,000 Gowns. Again, I'd like to remind people we are the largest LGBTQ plus organization in the country that raises money for other LGBTQ plus organizations. And we love what we do. We raise this money by giving big events, and a lot of the members perform in it. Whether they're a performer or not, everyone's talent is welcome. So we just love doing what we do. And the Night of 1,000 Gowns this year was really quite amazing. Talent from RuPaul's Drag Race, talent that you've seen on Broadway, and everybody had an amazing time, and that's what it's about. So I am very stoked tonight with our guest. I was having lunch with his sister, who I adore, the musician Ruth Starr, and I was telling her about this show, and she said, "Oh my God, my brother would be perfect," and she hooked us up during our lunch. And I'm going to tell you why this person is so perfect. Okay. Our guest tonight is the president and CEO of the Stonewall National Museum Foundation, which is located in Florida. I don't know why I thought it was up here. I go to Stonewall all the time, and I was thinking, why didn't I see it, anywhere on Christopher Street? But they are actually located in Florida. And our guest has a unique skill set, which I can't wait to get into, that gives him an understanding of human rights. And when we talk about LGBTQ rights, we're talking about human rights. So I just can't wait for you to meet him. Please put your hands together for Robert Kesten.
Thank you.
And there you are.
Here I am in Florida.
And sunny Florida, right? I have guests on from Florida and LA in the winter, and I'm a little bitter about them. Okay, because usually they're talking about how beautiful the weather is, and of course we had the worst winter on record up here. So welcome to the show, Robert. I am very excited to have you here. And I'm just going to dive right in. Your background is very interesting to me because you have been involved in every aspect of human rights. And I think what I find most interesting, you seem to me to be one of those people that can bridge and talk to all different kinds of people. So what's your story, Morning Glory?
The reality is that our parents, Rue and mine, always gave us the notion that we had to leave the world better than we found it.
Amazing. Wow.
And so the work that I do, the work that I've done is about what can I do as an individual? What can I do with others to make the world at least a slightly better place?
Right.
The more that I learned about the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, I recognized it as the actual foundation of how we change our world for the better. And that's absolutely what I work on.
Yeah, it's really interesting because I'm sure, as the rest of us are, but especially with your background and what you've done, seeing the kind of environment that we're in now, where it's anti-human rights all over the place, it can be very discouraging. And you say to yourself, you said your parents gave you this belief that you could change the world. But what often happens, and I hear it happening now from people that I know, people just get beaten down. And certainly in the times that we're in, and I don't mean just in this country. I mean, when you read the news all over the world, it can be very depressing and it can make people feel powerless. How do you feel you get power to push back against this?
Well, for one thing, I look at it from a historical perspective. And if you look at it from a historical perspective, the only way the world has ever gotten better, seriously better, is it has to hit very difficult times.
Rock bottom.
So I don't look at this as a negative period of time. I look at it as a time of massive change. And I recognize that everything that we're going through, as unpleasant as it is, it means that the change will be that much more significant. And the world always bends towards justice. Ultimately, people want to be free and they want to have liberty.
Yeah.
So when we go through these trying times, the end result will be, for those who survive, which will be the majority of people on the planet, that it will be better, that we will be closer. And if you look at history, you see that's always the case. So
they say history repeats itself. That's what they say.
Well, it doesn't.
It doesn't.
No. Everything is always there.
So there's no repetition, right? Because what you're saying is it's the state that it's in.
Correct. So the evil is always there. The great is always there. People are people. If we are complacent, if we are lazy, the evil will rise to the top. If we stay engaged, if we fight for a better community, the good will rise to the top.
Right.
That's not history repeating itself. That's not a pendulum that swings from one side to the other. It's all dependent on how much we want to invest in the world that we live in.
Exactly. Do you think that people in the times we're in now, that this has all happened because of complacency?
Absolutely. We start to think that things are going well,
right,
and that we can relax. And the reality is that as long as we're dealing with human beings,
we can never relax. There's no relaxation.
That's right.
You have to keep your I agree with you. By the way, I love the way you frame this, because it's very matter of fact. It's also spot on. of how things are. And I think anybody listening to you, if you tell them this, if they're losing hope, they'll sit there and they may shake their head and say, I never saw it from that perspective.
That's why when I wake up in the morning, I recognize the fact that there is always something I can do,
right,
that will make me feel that I'm being productive.
right.
So I'm not Gandhi, I'm not Nelson Mandela, I'm not Martin Luther King,
right.
but I can do what I can do. And I understand that I have the framework of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which gives me the roadmap to how to make this a better world. And so yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
How did you find this Declaration of Human Rights? When I was reading about you, of course, it came up, but I was never aware there was a Declaration of Human Rights. Can you give a little backstory on that?
I sure can. There was the Second World War. Most people have heard of that.
Yes.
There was the Holocaust. Most people have heard of that. Not everybody believes it's true, but it's there. So after the Second World War, they founded the United Nations. At the United Nations, the US's first ambassador was Eleanor Roosevelt. Eleanor Roosevelt was asked to chair the committee that would draft the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. And on December 10th, 1948, it was introduced to the world and voted on unanimously by the General Assembly of the UN. From that time on, even with every country voting for it, almost no country did very much to promote it or to inform its people of what was in it. Why? Because that gives people agency, and government finds it much more difficult to herd cats than it does to herd sheep. So it would prefer us being sheep rather than cats. We are taught to refer to people in government in a certain way. We call them leaders, but we don't elect leaders in places like the United States or the United Kingdom. We elect representatives. And so when we tell them there are leaders, they start to believe it. And so they want to take away our human rights. They ask us to compromise on our human rights in order to get better security, to have more safety. But it's not true.
Right.
The more they take our rights away, the less inclined we are to invest in our communities.
Yeah, and if we're not inclined to invest in our communities and we become complacent about it, then you have the situations that you have now.
That's exactly where we are.
Right.
People have sat back.
Yeah.
People have not taken responsibility as citizens. And we've given all of that to elected officials, corporations, media, and others. And now we recognize that we have given up our power.
Right.
And now we're trying to find a way back to it.
And
that's scary and hard. And the powerful do not want to give it up.
And you are describing exactly really what is going on now, to absolutely to a T. So if you take the regular person, Robert, and like you said, you wake up every day knowing there's something you can do. I, believe it or not, wake up with that attitude every day because there is always something. You know, I have a tremendous joy in my life because I'm out there all the time with things I believe in, and I can make things happen. Okay, I can't overthrow a government I don't agree with, but I can certainly touch somebody's life. I can talk to a parent who, you know, can't get puberty blockers for their kid and come up with some helpful suggestions. If you were going to give advice to a regular person out there when they say, "Oh my God, Robert, it's so terrible. What can I do?" What if you were going to put together a plan for a regular person, what would it be?
Well, I consider myself pretty much a regular person.
Yeah, I get that.
So what I do is for me, I like to write. So I write things, I post them, I send them to newspapers. Sometimes they get printed, sometimes they don't. But what I also try to do is I remind myself that in order for change to happen, this is what has to happen. So how do I make people feel safer? How do I make people feel more engaged? And through the museum, through our library and archive, I'm able to invite people in, give them tours of what we're doing, walk them through the archive. And when you go into our archive or when you go into our library, it is a collection of all these heroes, even heroes who are completely unknown.
I was going to ask about that too, but keep going. We can get to that. Yeah.
And even people who are unknown who have done something. And you start to feel that energy around you.
Right.
And you say, I'm standing on the shoulders of heroes. These people never gave up. These people always fought back. And how can I feel bad where we are today versus what all of them had to go through 50 years ago, 100 years ago? I gave a speech in India, and everybody who spoke before me talked about how horrible the world was becoming. And I said, oh, I'm not going to give that speech. And I got up and I said, I don't want to call all the people who spoke before me liars, but I came to India on an airplane. 100 years ago, that would have been impossible.
Right.
Think about all of you who are in this audience. How many of you wouldn't be alive if it wasn't for advances in medicine?
Exactly. Yeah.
There are women in the audience. 25, 30 years ago in India, you wouldn't be here. Absolutely. So please don't tell me how bad the world is. There are bad things. There are bad people. There are bad situations. But the world as an entity unto itself is getting better. And we are the beneficiaries of all this technology that's being used positively and not negatively. And we have the benefit of the educational opportunities that no generation ever had before. We can learn things, we can understand things because it's readily available to us in ways that just didn't exist. So instead of dwelling on how bad it's getting, look at the positives that are all around us and then mobilize them.
Mobilize is a key word. Mobilize them. Yeah. Yeah. And that can be a tough one for people when they get in that mindset. You gave that speech in India and everyone before you was saying how terrible things were, right? People hear that enough and it really can wear them down.
It does.
As a speaker, you are really a great motivational speaker for a lot of what's going on now, because you definitely have a perspective that is pragmatic and can mobilize people. I listen to you and I say to myself, okay, Wendy, you are on the right path. You're doing the right things. But I also have a responsibility, not just to be on that path, it's to bring other people with me.
Absolutely.
Right? You have an amazing vehicle in the Stonewall National Museum. What an incredible vehicle to have to share and educate and advocate, because when you share that history, it empowers people that come through there.
Absolutely. Without a question of a doubt. When people walk in and they see the exhibit, when they walk in and they get a tour of the archive, they do feel different. Now, whether that difference lasts for 24 hours or 72 hours, to a large extent, that's people taking responsibility for themselves.
Absolutely.
And that's another thing that we really have to do. We have to understand that we are responsible and we can't continuously give up our power. So if we want things to be better, we can't relinquish. We have to accept and take on. And it's scary sometimes, it's hard, but then nothing that's really amazing has ever been easy. Great art.
Loud and clear, and that is the absolute truth. I would like you to just share who threw the first brick at Stonewall. That was a joke. We've been hearing that forever. But I would like you, and I've had Stonewall people from the original riots on this show. But what I would like to hear from you, some of the unsung heroes of the LGBTQ movement that you would know about that people that are listening would not know about.
Well, on May 20th, we're doing our first Stonewall Honors program.
How great.
And Stonewall Honors is celebrating the people who are now working in organizations and communities and go largely unknown. Not all of them, but a lot of them.
Right.
And they are working in a time when their budgets are being cut, when they're having to lay people off, and they're actually having to work harder than ever in order to do the same job.
Absolutely.
So to me, right now, those are the unsung heroes. And we have 12 people coming in representing 10 different organizations that are doing the work.
Yeah.
And I don't think that people know their names. They may have heard of the organization, but the likelihood is they don't know these people's names. And let me see if I can grab it quickly.
That was my next. You're reading my mind here. Just roll over to that file.
Well, it's not a file, but we just had this created, and hopefully and this is what they will be getting.
Hang on, I need glasses for this one. Oh, that's beautiful. That's absolutely beautiful.
And it's on
rainbow ribbon.
Right, so it goes over their heads, and they'll be able to take that with them. They can frame it, they can wear it, but it's the idea that we're going where the Kennedys, in the opposite direction of where the Kennedy Center honors have gone.
Right.
We are going to regular people who work damn hard with less and less and less and do more and more and more.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. The other thing we do is each year we have a dinner that's called Standing on the Shoulders of Heroes. And that is a traveling exhibit that has been across the United States and goes to various places every year. And each year we add new people. So this year we added Janice Ian.
Wow.
The founder of the Arcus Foundation.
Oh, I know who that is. That's great. Wow.
And Barney Frank, the former congressman.
Of course. Yeah.
Last year we did, oh God.
You're doing great.
No, it's just by the end of the day, my days start very early.
I figured, and I really appreciate you being on here with the job that you have and everything you're responsible for. This is really great stuff to share, really.
So we did Edie Windsor last year.
Love it, right.
And there are a lot of people who don't know who Edie is, but if you believe in same-sex marriage, you should know who Edie is.
Right, because Edie is the one that really, really fought from the get-go.
She made it into a financial issue. And when the IRS acquiesced, ultimately, there was no reason to prevent it.
Right.
And so the rest of those court cases moved after her case and made it legal. And so there are many, many other people in the Standing on the Shoulders, and it keeps growing and growing and growing. In the very beginning, Billie Jean King was the only living person in it.
Right.
Now there are many living people in it, as well as previous people. So a lot of people don't know who Barbara Giddings is. And Barbara Giddings was a leader in the lesbian movement in the 50s and 60s. She lived in Philadelphia. She organized one of the very first marches. In those days, the women had to wear dresses or skirts or suits.
Absolutely.
And heels, so that they were just regular people, as so many people are, just regular people. And she marched in Washington, and she marched in Philly, and she marched in many other cities.
And if we remember what streets were like in those times, it was
tough.
Yeah,
it was tough and dangerous. And
there's a street groundbreakers.
Right. And there's a street named after her in Philadelphia.
which is great. You know, um, you're naming all of these people. There have to be people out there. And I guess when you talk about, honoring people that nobody heard of that are in these organizations that have been gutted right now, and they've lost their funding. I think when you shine a light on people like that and you share it about regular people, right? Like Billie Jean King, is a star, right? Everyone knows her. And in the big community, everyone knows Edie Windsor. But I don't think people know about these smaller LGBTQ organizations that are so grassroots and how they struggle to get everything that they need. And now they're really, really challenged.
Oh, absolutely. Government money is gone. Foundation money is dried up. Corporate money has dried up.
Corporate money.
No, it's right. Everybody now is dependent largely on the generosity of individuals. And with the economy going up one day and down the next, people are very reluctant to make the kind of contributions that they have made in the past.
That is true. But, I can say from my own experience with organizations up here in New York, there are people writing checks up here. And even my organization, an amazing donor, those amazing donors are out there.
And, they are. And but it helps if you're in New York or LA.
Right. It's really hard in the rest of the parts of the country.
Exactly. And that's where the majority of people live.
Yeah. Yeah. It's all the flyover states and everything in between. So as far as the museum goes, do you do educational workshops for people? And what kind of things do you talk about?
Well, we do educational programming for teachers and administrators of schools.
Great.
We do programming. We will be unleashing one of our biggest educational projects ever, which will be an online LGBTQ plus history and cultural website that you will be able to access from anywhere in the world.
That's amazing.
There'll be on the home page, there'll be an array of different faces and organizational icons and whatnot. And you just click on it. And then let's say you click on Stonewall, Stonewall Inn.
Yeah.
And it will take you to the uprising. And there you'll see people like Sylvia Rivera and Marsha P. Johnson. And then you'll see the organization that they created to house and feed homeless children. And then that will take you to another place. And then you'll find who was associated with that. How did that happen? Where did it go from there? And you can follow that through the trans or through the children or through other organizations that sprung up from that time. And you'll be able to do that with a whole host of different individuals and different organizations and cultural aspects of the community as well.
That is just completely amazing. What will be the name of the website?
I don't know just yet. It will be announced.
I wasn't able to talk about it. That's why
you will find out. It will be announced on May 20th when we present those medals to those honorees, and all of those honorees will be entered into the system.
To the database.
So they're organizations and they will be in there as well. So we're doing the right now and everything that has happened before. And that's, like I said, culturally and historically. So we want people to recognize that we are living in interesting times. We have always lived in interesting times. We will always live in interesting times. And the people who are doing the work today are as important as those people who did it 50 years ago.
Exactly. And it's what I said about shining a light on them. Do you get people that come to the museum? You're in Fort Lauderdale, are you not?
We are.
Yeah. Do you get a lot of tourists from all over the country that are completely jazzed to be there and want to know everything?
We get people from all over the world.
All over the world, yeah.
And they come in and they walk through the stacks of books and you see the amazement on their faces when they see certain authors that they never knew about, or that they knew of, but they didn't know that they were part of the community. You see them when they walk through the exhibit. You see them, those that come for the archival tour, when we show them Ricky Martin's leather pants.
Oh my God, I know people would be lining up for that.
They do line up for that.
Those pants could raise a lot of money, Robert.
Yes, but they're here. But we also have, on the serious side, we have the gavel that Nancy Pelosi used as Speaker of the House that came down and ended Don't Ask, Don't Tell.
Yeah.
So there are very serious things here. There's a lot of factual material here. There are historic books. It's really quite a stupendous place that has materials that just touch you in ways that very few other things can.
So how did the concept of this museum come about?
Well, it started in 1973 when a 17-year-old high school kid in Hollywood, Florida, was so jazzed by the uprising in New York that he asked his parents if he could start a lending library at their house in his bedroom. Now, in 1973, there are not that many parents that would have said, yes, bring strange people into our house to borrow books on gay people. But they did. And he then met a young man who had started a small local archive. And together they became the Stonewall Library and Archive. And then it moved to Fort Lauderdale, and it's been here ever since. And as more and more things came in, the idea of the museum was set up.
Of course.
And so for a long time now, it has been answering the needs of not only this community, but communities across the country.
It's really a wonderful concept. While we were talking, I was thinking about, because you mentioned, we're in an amazing time now with technology, right? We can do things we could never do before. As you probably are aware, there are a number of museums that have put apps together where you could tour the museum by just signing into the app. And I'm a member of the Explorers Club. We put that together. It's really great because I give tours of the club and the archives. I love that. I love history. And now people can just go online and access all that information. If they can't come to New York and, take a tour with me, that information is now at their fingertips and they can see, the actual paintings and things on the wall. Do you have that kind of thing in your game plan?
In our game plan, yes, but not at this moment.
Well,
if you go
website's amazing.
If you go on TikTok right now, you get a preview of our upcoming exhibit that opens tomorrow.
It's on TikTok. Okay. For you, I will do that. I use what happens is, as you know, you can end up spending hours even with researching or doing your own stuff. But I will go on TikTok and I just put in the name of the museum, right? No,
I put in my name.
I have to put, okay, good. I'm glad that you told me that. You can see I'm not a TikTok user.
Nor am I usually, but it is a good way
very
of getting
smart
information out.
Right. It's very smart because a demographic that you would want to reach, the youth, that is a really great way to reach them.
And it's a very interesting exhibit, and it's an exhibit that shouldn't even exist. A year ago, January, we were told not to bother applying for any grants from the federal government anymore.
Wow.
Because we're considered a DEI organization.
Right.
And then we got another notice that not only should you not apply, but if you're foolish enough to apply, remember the only things that we will fund are the 250th anniversary celebrations of America. So we applied.
You applied. And good for you.
And we got the grant. And the grant and the exhibit opens tomorrow here in Fort Lauderdale.
That's amazing.
Well, what's more amazing is in our grant proposal, we said we were going to travel to several cities across the United States. So we are, as of now, to the best of my knowledge, the only organization that's considered DEI that has sponsorship from the federal government for an exhibit that will tour to several other cities across the United States with a, I guess, DEI message.
But you realize that this makes absolutely no sense considering they said don't even bother. So, you know what I'm saying? You took the action. It's what you talked about earlier in the conversation, taking the action.
And I have to admit, I'm really excited about the exhibit opening. So
yeah, I love the whole process that you went through, and I think that's great. And I am going to go to TikTok and put your name in. They're going to haunt me to get a TikTok account, which I had done long ago, but I can't. But very cool that you're doing that. So I want to talk about you. All right, your upbringing you shared, but you were there for the breakup of the USSR.
Yes, I worked on Ukraine's independence from the Soviet Union.
How old were you?
Younger than I am now. It was
no,
19.
I know, but you had to be in your early 20s when you were doing all this kind of stuff.
No, I was a little bit older than that, but a little. And that wasn't anywhere near the first things that I did.
Can you share with us some of the first things that you did? I know now you came from the kind of home that supported this, and you knew you had the ability to do this. What were some of the early things that...
Well, the first thing was Martin Luther King was assassinated.
I remember.
And it shocked me. And so my mother threw me in the car, and she took me to a neighboring community, and she said, get out and go in that building, and you'll meet this woman named Ruth Ransom. She's waiting for you. And I walked in, and there was this wonderful Black woman sitting there who ran this place called the Open Door Center. And she said, you're going to help me send children from this community to summer camp so that they can get out of this environment at least for a few weeks this summer.
Wow.
And I went back and I organized students from my school, my elementary school, and we raised enough money to send about 20 or 25 kids to summer camp.
And you were a teenager, right? Were you a teenager?
Oh, no.
Younger.
I was, yes, much younger.
Really impressive, though. I mean, true, your mother was an amazing influence, but very impressive that you already had that. You had that in you, you know? That's called being responsible and being aware and having empathy for somebody else. There was no question in your mind when she gave you this task to do, you were just going to do it.
I did it. And I went to stores and asked for them to donate things that we could raffle off. And I got thrown out of a couple of stores when they heard what I was raising money for.
And how did you, as a kid, how did you deal with that?
Well, it surprised me. When I was a kid, my hair was white from being so blonde. My eyes were blue. So I thought, if it can happen to me, then imagine what is happening to these other kids.
Yeah.
And it inspired me to work harder.
Wow. And you did.
And I did. So that was the first thing that I really did. And then from there, when I took time off from college and set up tenant associations in Manhattan in buildings that were inhabited by widows, all much, much older than me, who were afraid to complain about the conditions of the buildings they lived in.
Of course.
Because they thought they could be evicted. They thought all these things. And so I organized a few buildings, and that helped them get the repairs that were needed. It also gave them every month, they would cook and bake, and we would all come together in these different buildings, and they had something to look forward to. And that was terribly rewarding. And then to raise some additional money for the tenant associations, I produced a vaudeville show at the theater at Hunter College.
That is genius.
So we did a big show with singing and dancing and magic and comedy at Hunter College, which has the Danny Kaye Theater.
Yeah, I know it.
And so that was an amazing experience as well.
And then you just moved on from there.
I just kept doing things and finding ways to make additional contacts where I could.
And try to make a difference where you could. Did anyone along the way that you met or had a relationship with, question the fact that you wanted to? People call me Dottie Do-Good, okay? That's where this is coming from. But there's those of us that see something. What do they say in New York? If you see something, say something. There are those of us that see something and know we can do something about it. I don't care if I fail, but I'm going to try. But I don't care if I fail. I have to try, though. If I think it's wrong, what you did for those women that were in those tenements, you created such a sense of community, and you were also able to allay their fear. That's a very powerful thing, to take away fear in other people, making them feel like they are in a safe space. We talk about creating safe space all the time.
Absolutely.
It seems to me that you've done that throughout your history.
I've tried, certainly have tried.
Right. So you were also at I never say it right, Tahrir Square for the Arab Spring.
Tahrir Square, yes.
Tahrir, right.
In Cairo. Yes, I was there. I had applied for a grant from the Swiss Secretary of State, and they sent me to Egypt and Tunisia for the Arab Spring. And my job was to talk about the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and how it could be infused in whatever government came after the Arab Spring. Well, needless to say, that didn't work. But the point was, it was conversation. And it was conversation at every single level, from farmers to academics to government officials.
Yeah.
And it was, needless to say, almost as exciting as working in the Soviet Union. Almost. That was truly an amazing experience.
And so you've worked in these other countries, okay? You have a political message. I hate using the word political for it because that's not correct. But it is a message about what we have as human beings, what our rights are, how we can expect to be treated. Did you ever get any life threats or anything like that when you were doing this?
I've seen a lot of guns up close.
You have? Wow. Yes. But you did it anyway.
I did it anyway, and it makes you, at least I find it, that makes you less fearful.
Having a gun to your head or up in your face.
I've had guns literally held to my head. I've had machine guns pointed at me. In Egypt, a tank. So all different sizes and shapes.
Wow. And yet you can still continue. Well, now I don't think you have any of those kinds of threats, but as an activist, you really did put yourself out there, and you did something. I don't know that I could do what you could do. I don't think I could risk my own life. The closest I've worked in Ethiopia, where the indigenous people had AK-47s, and I just had to tell myself in my brain, you're here, you're making a film, you're hanging out with them. They have no reason to take those AK-47s and shoot you. But when I show people pictures of where I was, they said, what, are you crazy? Why would you risk that? But again, you were in political situations, and somebody could have turned a gun on you.
They did. They just didn't use it.
They didn't, right? They didn't use it.
I scared my translators many times.
You did, right? They're like, Robert, you're crazy. Why are you
Well,
doing this?
my favorite translator in Kiev said, "You do realize that you're not in America, and you do realize that they're holding machine guns, and you do realize that if they shot us, nobody would know."
or care, really.
So
Yeah, that's
you have
really
to,
taking a chance.
you just have to live.
You just have to live.
And
Yeah.
if you live your life fully, it's going to end at some time. Live it to the maximum.
Oh
Don't
yeah.
be crazy, but live it to the maximum. And then you will not have any regrets.
No, exactly. But I'm curious. Okay, these are situations you were in that were dangerous. At what point did things calm down for you? I mean, when we all of us think of a museum, it's a very calming, lovely place. At what point
Well,
did
not
things
in Florida.
not that really you're dealing? Yeah, well, I can understand why, but still, it's still not being in a developing country where you're bringing things to the people that they don't want the people to know about.
That is exactly what Florida is right now.
Yeah.
Florida is a place where you're not supposed to say gay. You're not supposed to have a rainbow flag. You're
Right.
not supposed to talk about anybody who's different than a white male Christian.
Yes.
So no, it's definitely not that different. And guns are ubiquitous here.
No, I know yeah.
There is a right to carry,
Yep.
and a right to carry both open and concealed.
I'm very aware. I have a lot of friends in the Wilton Manors area, and I have a
Send
number
them
of
to the
friends that
museum.
left.
Send your friends from down here to the museum.
Oh yeah, I think that that is just so supportive. But you have not gotten death threats for having that museum.
I have not, but other people have been threatened.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not uncommon for people to have been threatened that work in this sphere. Although Fort Lauderdale is safe, but if you go outside the blue bubble, it's not necessarily safe in all parts of this state.
I went to school in Broward County for a little bit, Broward Community College. And that was the first time I personally ever encountered, I grew up in the Bronx. I encountered my first rednecks, of course, when I went there. And it was very different. Now with what's gone on, I just can't even wrap my head around it, But I look at what you're doing, and your brick and mortar presence there helps people. The kind of programming you have helps people. You're educating, you're lifting up, you're advocating, and you're out there really fighting for human rights without throwing a brick. Your presence is the brick. And you know what? That's a very special thing. We are down to the wire here. What would you like to share with everybody about what's up next going forward?
Well, like I said, we're opening up this exhibit on Baron von Steuben tomorrow. It is really a challenge for the community that we're in to see something that's funded by the federal government for our community.
What a coup.
I mean, it's really quite exciting.
Yeah.
And then when we open for Pride, which we're doing our Pride opening on May 30th with this Stonewall Honors, and really celebrating people who are doing the work, and introducing this new educational tool that will be available to everybody.
Amazing.
In every place around the world. So if you're in Uganda and you have access to the internet, you can touch it and get that history. Right. And that for a country that says if you're gay, you can be put to death. That's monumental.
They can stone you to death there. I think the fact that you have made this worldwide, and no matter where you are, everyone's got a you made it happen because you believe that you could, right? You're getting grants because you believe that you can. And I have to say, I bless you for every single thing you're doing. If people are listening, please go to the museum. It's the Stonewall National Museum in Fort Lauderdale. And you can go online and go to TikTok and see the exhibit that's coming up, which is really great.
And they can also make a contribution.
And most importantly, right, all of us have the ability to do that. And I constantly remind people of that. A contribution can be anything. I always, even with free events, I always tell people, advertise that they can do a suggested donation or a donation. But even if you're struggling, everyone's got a couple of extra bucks. Put it in there, right? Make something happen. We do have that much control. Well, Robert, the last thing I do is I take a picture. So I like doing that. Kind of hokey, right? But let me get, and I have a new phone that's not letting me do it. There we go. It's horrible having a new, I'm not even getting into it with you. My electronic meltdown that I've had in the past 5 days, like everything. It's incredible. So just look at me, say cheese.
Cheese.
Thank you so much for being here. I know you had a long day, and you were the icing on the cake for my day today. So
thank you.
Thank you. Thank you to everybody who tuned in. Again, we are in April, and now we are all really starting to get ready for our Pride events. Last year, Pride actually lasted over 3 months, which was amazing. There were still events in September. That's what we want. Okay, be proud, share it, be kind, share the love. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.